So, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking a minute out for the program today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it deeply.
You
And
bet.
yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you bet. So, let's begin our journey with this. 6 years ago, this pandemic was changing so much about all of us, putting us at a crossroads. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you view life, write, and do things today?
Wow. Okay, that's a really, really, really interesting question because I think we're still in, even though COVID itself is, quote, gone, I think we're still in the place of despair. I think that there has been a change in the culture that personally I feel, and I know a lot of people feel this, and it's about uncertainty because we really don't know what's coming down the pike, whether it's another pandemic, whether, I mean, all the things we can name in the culture that are rapidly changing. And some of us are happy with those changes, some of us aren't happy, but we really don't know. And so if we take the principle of uncertainty, I think on some level, like let's say for artists, that's in a good time, the principle of uncertainty, and we don't know what's coming next, is the process of discovery. So for me, that could mean during COVID, I actually did put this book together. So it was a process of discovery. But there's also the weight of the despair in COVID that we don't know what's happening. So I'm sort of talking around something. Let me just be quiet for a minute. I want to say I got through COVID, and this is a message that I feel like your listeners might relate to, is that we're looking outside ourselves now for to influencers and to other people to help us find our way during this difficult time. And one of the things that I discovered in putting together Wild Freedom is to really trust our inner selves in terms of the images and the language and the stories that all of us have that come to us in dreams, that come to us in sort of our daydreams and in our night dreams. And that if we look inside ourselves, we can find a key to what we need to do next.
Yeah,
So I don't know if that answers your
it does.
question.
It's very eloquently put. I really totally get what you're saying. So, what I want to do is to get kind of an idea beyond the writing. I want to put you in front of 13-year-olds at career day, and they want to know what you do for a living, what you've done in your career, what you do now. How do you explain your work to them?
Oh, well, these are so fantastic questions. Um, well, one thing I would say is, hey, what's a story you want to tell somebody that you never told? What's a letter? I bet there's a letter inside of you that you would like to write someone and you don't know, you're afraid to write it. What's that letter about? Okay, that's the writer part in yourself. That's the part in yourself that has a lot to tell other people. And maybe you just don't know how to start.
Yeah.
And here's a way to start. Dear so and so, I've always wanted to tell you this, but okay, the next 10 minutes, keep writing.
Yeah.
And I bet that that will open something up. So
Yeah.
rather than saying, I'm a writer, I do this,
Sure.
you know, I'm interested in the things that are inside us that we don't know what's inside of us.
So, when you were growing up, what did you want to be? What was your dream job?
So the other thing I would tell young kids
Yeah, sure.
is,
Sorry.
yeah, so but it's related. So a lot of writers, and I'm sure you've interviewed these a lot of these people, are the kinds of kids that were like the English teacher loved them, or they were the kids that wrote their first play at 10 and they made everybody else in the neighborhood play in their play, or that somehow they thought of themselves as an artist and that or a writer, and that really wasn't me. I was very shy. I was the kind of kid, and this is I'm talking to younger people now, but also not younger people. Before I would raise my hand in class, I would have to write down what I was going to say because I was so shy. I was afraid I was going to forget my words. So I was like the opposite of a writer.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing, and this is part of Wild Freedom. I grew up in a family that was had a lot of drama, had a lot of trauma, and no self-awareness. And I was a sensitive kid. So I was a kid who could see that mom and sister were fighting, but they weren't paying attention to each other and they didn't know what the other person was feeling. And I could feel that. And so I always thought if only I had the right words to tell mom, sister is really angry at you because you did this. And could you please be kinder to her? So somehow my writing self was alive as being a peacemaker in a family where people were dramatic, but they weren't really talking to each other. And now I get to be a novel where I'm inside everybody's head and I can make them say anything I want.
Yeah.
So,
I totally get it. So let me ask you this. What were you reading early on? What gave you either the desire to write or the desire to want to read more? Who were
yeah, yeah.
authors?
You know, that's a question I've sit with a lot. And I think one of the most influential books for me was The Diary of Anne Frank, which came out in the 50s. And so this is the story for people that don't know of a young girl who was swept up in the Holocaust in Germany. I'm sorry, she was in Holland at the time. She lived in an attic with her family, and she was hiding from the Nazis. And she kept a diary of those days, which became a famous book and a play and a movie. What struck me as a young person and what um, really influenced me was not the horrors of being, hiding in an attic or the Nazis, but the voice in that diary, because it was about mundane things. It was about her crush on the boy that lived in the attic with her. It was about her anger at her mother. It was very personal. It was a personal diary of a young girl,
Yeah.
and it spoke to me. And so I think that somehow that really stayed with me. And then I was very involved with reading. I read adult, when I was growing up, there wasn't that much young adult fiction. You either went from like picture books or, Nancy Drew or those kinds of books. I'm pre Harry Potter, obviously, um, to adult fiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was interested because of my childhood, because of this troubled childhood. I was interested in reading books, mostly fiction, about difficult, dark situations because I was trying to teach myself what people did and how they lived with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, going through the drama and the tumult that you went through early on, who was that hero, that inspirational force that's allowed you to evolve into who you are today?
Well, Carl Jung has been a dead mentor to me for a really long time. And I went to Switzerland to the Jung Institute for 2 summers. And at that time, I was thinking of becoming an analyst, a Jungian analyst. And the choice was I had already had an MFA in poetry. So there were there was a choice, analyst or writer. I didn't think I could do both. And then I realized I don't really want to listen to other people's stories. I want to write my own. So I chose being a writer. But I mean, Carl Jung has been so important to me in the sense that, as opposed to Freud or other, that the Freudian tradition, he really believed that the healing image is within us, whether it comes in dreams or synchronicities, and that the wound, the trauma, which many of us have, and maybe trauma is too heavy a word, but the wound is the portal to healing. That if you, with compassion and self compassion, go into the wound and find the life force that's hidden within it, because we know when we're in bereavement or despair or depression, there's a lot of suppressed energy. It's not dead energy, it's just inaccessible. And the way to unlock that, I believe, is looking deeply at what that is, even drawing it, dancing it, making music about it, writing it, because that opens up the life force.
Yeah. Yeah. I've written poetry for a long time, and I've always felt like it's kind of a regular person's, working person's therapy, because you are actually getting it all out. You're doing it in a way that's creative. It's not so much diary, but you're still putting it all out on the page. And I think that's one of the beauties of poetry.
I think so. I'm so glad you said that and told me about that, because also, and tell me if this is true to your experience, there's a difference, I think, between sort of doing, quote, art therapy, like someone telling you to write a poem about your trauma, versus being self inspired. Because I feel like when one writes a poem out of a deep feeling or an instinct, it transforms the darkness into something beautiful.
Yes.
It's a transformative moment. It's not just therapy. It may be therapeutic, but it's separate than therapy. It has its own desire to be in the world.
It's interesting because whenever, from a psychological perspective, they tell people to write down 10 positive things about something and 10 negative things, people will fly in and have 10 negative no time flat, but they'll get stuck on the positive. And it's that idea of poetry of taking, because if people really wrote genuine parts of um, just not feeling good about something or somebody, it would just flow out in a diatribe that most people wouldn't want to read. But if you take that and be pragmatic about it and give it a twist, a creative twist, you are, like you said, making something um, beautiful or magnanimous out of something that would otherwise just be possibly a rant or something that no one would want to read.
Exactly. That's so true. So there's a wonderful quote. I've often started my readings with this, that maybe you know, from Bertolt Brecht, who wrote, um, in the dark times, will there still be singing? Yes, there will still be singing about the dark times.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
It's
I do
so
too.
true.
It's
It's so,
totally.
it's just what you're saying, Joe.
Yeah.
And I mean, and just, it's okay to rant. I mean, I think the process of making art, with small a, so not to be too highfalutin here, is that refinement process. So you get it all out and it's not pretty, but that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's just pretty, no one's going to want to read that either, because it doesn't feel real,
Yeah. 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 I
right?
totally get it. Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you could be a fly on the wall and I'm this question is going to be because we're in this uh, we're in this era of documenting everything. Artists, musicians, behind the scenes, all these things, but writers don't tend to get under that microscope. If you could go back in time and be a fly on the wall and watch a writer write and construct their worlds, who would you love to watch?
Hmm. I love your questions. They're so
Thank you.
thoughtful. There's no way I could prepare for these. You know, I don't know the habits of a lot of writers, but um, I feel akin to Virginia Woolf.
Okay.
She's a writer. um, who, because she was a writer, there are many reasons I love Virginia Woolf, but she was interested in consciousness.
Yeah.
There was a while where I think we're actually coming back in both the arts, but it's also in the sciences because of psychedelics coming back in consciousness. There was, in the 60s and a little prior, there was a lot of interest, and the arts were influenced by Freud and Freudian stuff, so consciousness and brain stuff. And then that sort of went out of fashion. But she was very interested in people's inner lives. So, um, and she also, like myself, she was introverted. She was a reflective writer. So she's a writer. There's a French writer who there are two writers who were not who were kind of in their own way in their own time wild women, and they wrote significant books that a lot of Americans probably aren't that familiar with. One is a French writer named Marguerite Duras,
Uh-huh.
and she wrote a a book called The Lover, which was made into a movie about her. She was a French family in what was then Indochina, which now is Vietnam, with an older man, a lover. And Jean Reese, these women were often alcoholics and wild women.
Yeah.
But I think because, and again, this is part of what's in Wild Freedom, um, women writers who broke the norm then, who were in some way transgressive, whether they weren't married and they weren't mothers or they were alcoholics, were, unless they were very, very popular, were really considered monsters.
Right. Yeah.
That's not true. Ernest Hemingway was not considered a monster because he was a drunk and an abuser,
Right.
you
Right.
know. So I sort of both identify in my shadow parts with these transgressive women writers,
Yeah. Yeah.
but also because their writing took them into these places of the unspoken
Yeah.
and the unsaid.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight, you ran into the 18-year-old version of you sitting in a room and there was a film projector and you walked up and you clicked play and your life came up, a 60-second highlight reel, would that young version of you believe your life turned out this way?
Totally not. Totally not, because I said, I never imagined being a writer. I
Yeah.
never imagined it. You know, um, and I often say, and this is to do with Jung a little bit, Carl Jung, if we all think about, so I'll throw this out to people in the audience, the major turning points in most of our lives are things we never predict, could not have predicted. The things we've worried about, the things we thought would happen, mostly don't.
Yeah.
So for me at 18, I would have never thought
Yeah.
that I would be a writer. And I'm so grateful that I found it. It saved my life. Writing saved my life. Reading saved my life. And then writing saved my life because it's how I process the world.
For sure. So in that 60-second highlight reel, what are you the happiest about, the proudest of?
What am I the proudest of? Mm, oh my gosh. So many things. That I have an open heart.
Yeah.
That things have happened, things have been difficult, and things have also been miraculously beautiful. And through it all, by a touch of grace, I've been able to keep my heart open and to be open to life. And sometimes that's a struggle,
Yeah.
but it's there.
Yeah.
And then I get to be with people like you because, and I'm not being, it sounds corny, but you know what? This is about a communication on a deep level to
Sure.
me because people don't talk about art very much
I know.
or about how it relates to our lives. It seems so other. And it's not, and both of us know it's not other,
Right.
right?
Yeah. That's why I love to do this. I genuinely love getting into these dialogues because it's vital. I think especially in this America we're living in that's so upside down right now with so many things happening. That's going to be the thing that's going to save us. I remember the morning after Kurt Vonnegut died, I always have to have radio or sound on in a room, and the radio was going in the kitchen. And I think I was getting ready to have my son. He was born in '04. I was right on the doorstep of fatherhood, and I remember the announcement came up that he had passed, and they said that he was an agnostic or atheist. He was on that line, but he was quoted as saying that the only reason why he would have ever believed there was a God is because music exists.
Uh-huh.
And I thought how profound that is. And that just that conversation about how art will definitely save us. And that was kind of what he was saying at the end of the day. That's going to be our saving grace.
That is. I just want to read two quotes, if I may, from artists. One is the poet Jane Hirschfeld. She's a
Yeah.
wonderful poet, and she wrote, "Every good work of art holds something that was not quite knowable before its own existence."
Yeah.
Every good work of art holds something that was not quite knowable before its own existence. And then the other one is Maya Angelou, who we quote all the time. "There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story
Yeah.
inside you."
Yeah. Yeah. That's profound. So
Isn't
true.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I hope, just to do a little plug for Wild Freedom, I hope it speaks to people on different levels. It's part there's I wrote an original fairy tale 35 years ago in the middle of a midlife crisis. And that fairy tale, I had no idea I was writing a fairy tale. 35 years later, I rediscovered it on my computer, sent it to some Jungian friends and said, "Is this anything?" And they said, "Yes." And it became this book, which is a hybrid of memoir. So it's the original fairy tale, three commentaries by analysts to talk about the archetypal themes in that book, and then me now reflecting back on how that fairy tale predicted the issues I would have to face in my life.
Yeah.
And it's a lot about how much do we owe the people who raised us or the people we love, and how much do we owe ourselves? You know, what's loyalty and what's betrayal? This is a cultural thing now, loyalty and betrayal,
Yeah.
compliance and agency. These really themes that I think touch everybody.
For sure.
Mhm.
So before we get into where to get the book and any of the other good business in your world, I want to know this. Everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, fans of your book, everyone that knows you in different capacities, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
I'm terrible at these questions. Oh no. Oh, who do I think I am? I have. Mhm. Oh, I should have a quick answer. I'm a curious person.
Yeah.
I'm very curious. I'm like Eve. I'm gonna believe the snake, and I'm gonna take a bite of the apple and then see what happens, even though I'm also a big coward. I'm both. I might get us kicked out of Eden, but I really like that apple.
Yeah. That's it.
I
It's
don't know.
no, I love it. It's the cat in us. It's that thing that just has to know what's going on. Um, so if anybody wants to get their hands on the book, they want to reach out to you, any of the other good work and business in your world, where's the best place for them to go?
They can go to my website and they can subscribe. There are places to buy the book. I also have a collection of poetry that came out 2 years ago and a novel that is still available. And they can sign up for my newsletter and know about other events that are happening. I totally welcome conversations and what the book's meant to them. I need to plug, please write reviews on Goodreads and Amazon. I
Yes,
guess this matters. I hate, we don't like, we didn't learn about self-promotion,
I
but this
know.
is, it's so
Yeah,
necessary. It really makes a difference
yeah,
about, because that's just the way it is now.
it
So,
is.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will make sure to put all these links in the show notes. This has been an absolute joy. So great to get to know you. Thank you so much for taking a minute out.
Thank you.
Best of luck with everything.
Thank you. To be continued maybe sometime.
Yes, I would love